Welcome, everybody, to the Entrepreneurial Collective podcast, where we tell it like it is, and it is like we tell it. As always, I'm your host, Dickie, aka the Ace Man, bringing that attitude, conviction, and energy every single episode. Today's episode is, it's a great one. I think they're all great. I'm biased, but you guys can let me know in the comments. You know what today's is called, right? You can't become the person until you become the person. You cannot become that person until you become that person. You know, the funny thing, not just with your entrepreneurial journey, right, but life as a whole is, it's a constant evolution. You know, I sit here in front of you today and, you know, I like wearing a nice shirt, jacket, my pocket square. I think it's pretty sick today. But you see, this is not who I was 25 years ago, you know? 25 years ago, I might have been more interested in wearing a hoodie and a tracksuit, maybe some ripped jeans, who knows? And I'm not just talking about the clothes you wear. My point is, in life, you're in a constant evolution, right? You're constantly evolving. When you were a child, you thought a certain way, you acted a certain way, you dressed a certain way, right? You spoke a certain way. When you were a teenager, it changed, it adjusted. I think a lot of us will agree the way you thought when you were, 10 was different than the way you thought when you were 16. The way you thought when you were 16 was different from the way you thought when you were 20, so on and so forth. We're constantly evolving, right? So it's important that you understand you cannot become that person you're looking to become until you become the person you're looking to become. Yeah, you want to chew on that for a minute. Write it down perhaps, okay? I'm going to say it again. You cannot become the person you're looking to become until you become the person you're looking to become. So let's go into this. What am I talking about? Well, I think about myself, and I'm going to use my own personal experiences, right? You know, growing up, I thought I knew it all, right? Anybody else guilty? From time to time, I still think I know it all. The only difference is as I've grown older and touch wood, gotten wiser, I've realized, humility is the number one character trait to producing success in your life. You have to understand that there are people who know more than you, that have done more than you, that are capable of more than you, because when you do realize that, then you're capable of evolving. I always say to people, if you're green, you're growing. If you're ripe, you're rotting. Never get ripe, folks, okay? It's great to improve and accomplish things, but always maintain that humility. Well, back to the story of me growing up. I remember as a younger individual, I knew it all, right? Even my parents giving me all this advice, all of this wisdom. You can't tell me nothing. You want to know what the funny thing is? Not only looking back do I see it plain as day, but I mean, even in the moment as a kid, I was repeatedly reminded that I didn't know it all. I would make decisions that I thought, were better or superior to what my parents were advising me or other, older, seasoned, smarter people in my life. I was making decisions, contrary to what they would suggest. And constantly I'd find egg on my face. Constantly I'd be making mistakes. I would slip. And, and every time I did, I had them looking at me like, we tried to tell you this, kid, right? My point is I realized very quickly as I was growing up, if I wanted to become much like the successful people that I had seen in my life, I needed to become exactly who they were, what they embodied. And, I kind of dumbed it down because I do believe in less is more. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I remember growing up, I would watch my dad, okay? My dad's leaving the house, especially in the summertime, and many times I would see him leaving the house with a set of golf clubs over his shoulder. Everybody else was getting up. We were getting ready for school, May, June, and he would be getting ready to go to work, but he would be putting golf clubs over his shoulder. And I remember my dad wasn't a professional golf player, although maybe from time to time I thought or he thought he was. But he said he was going to work. Now, as I grew older, I came to understand that, he had a lot of relationships. He was in the relationship business, as we all are in business, really. And part of maintaining those relationships is, he took part in activities like golfing, golf tournaments, golfing with clients, catching up with some of his biggest customers. And a lot of times those activities took place on the golf course. Well, I remember as a kid, I always thought to myself, man, this is really cool. Like, it looks like my dad gets to golf for a living. This is awesome. And, in seeing that, I thought to myself, if I was going to be able to do something cool like that when I got older, then how would I get there? Well, I didn't have all those answers, but thank goodness I was a child and I thought like one. So I just said to myself, well, if I kind of look at my dad and do what he does, then, I should probably end up doing what he's doing. It sounds like a very simple thought, one that many of us perhaps have had. I would argue very few act upon. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Growing up, what I noticed with my dad is, he got up at 5 o'clock every day, 5 in the morning. Now, many of the times I had to just take his word for it because I was sleeping and sawing logs. Although I never will forget, as I was a teenager, I would be out burning the midnight oil, if you will. I'd be up till all hours of the night. And, I would never dare come home at 5 in the morning when he was just woken up because I'd probably get smacked by him. In all seriousness, I would have my bedroom door shut, thinking, okay, he's probably thinking I'm sleeping, which would logically make sense. House is quiet. He's the only one up. He gets ready and off to work he goes. That is when I would creep back into the house. My point is growing up, I always knew he started his day at 5 o'clock. Now, he started it at 5 o'clock and I would ask him. I remember saying, Dad, why do you get up so early? Don't you like sleep? Are you afraid of sleep? He always would say things to me like, the only thing that happens when you sleep, son, is a little bit of extra rest and a few extra nightmares, right? Meaning there's always things to be doing, work to be done. And this wasn't to say he didn't get enough sleep each night, but he would just plan accordingly. You see, while I was heading out for the evening, I would see him getting ready to go to bed. Bedtime was 9 o'clock for him. And I noticed the habitual nature at which he operated his life. Many times you could schedule exactly when you would see him eat breakfast, when you would see him leave for work, when you would see him come home from work. There was a lot of consistency in his behavior. So my point here is, one of the things I realized early on is I said to myself, okay, well, apparently successful people who are able to golf during the day, they go to bed early and they get up early, right? They don't go to bed at midnight and then wake up with 14 alarm clocks 10 minutes before they're supposed to be out the door. This is an example of where I said to myself as I grew in my career, and this started early on in my sales career when I was in the dealerships, to get to bed early, right? When I knew I was working the next day and I needed to be at my best, wanted to perform at my best, I took a look at the best. And that example, luckily for me, was my dad. I got to watch it every day. Now, you can't become the person until you become the person. Well, this was an example of it. As I embarked into my career as a sales representative on an automotive dealership floor, I quickly realized, this is what successful people do. They're well rested, they get up and they're prepared for their day. My dad was never rushing into work. I think he actually started work at 8:30, or that was when the company was supposed to start work. My dad was up at 5 o'clock. He was up at 5 o'clock so that he could relax, have a cup of coffee, come into the day that he had planned for the evening before. He would leave early and go drive out to his place of work. He worked about 45 minutes to an hour from home. Now, the reason he left so early is because if he left with everybody else, and everybody else is exactly what I'm screaming when I say mediocrity, right? Mediocre people do mediocre things, right? And what a lot of mediocre people do is they get up with barely enough time to get together in the morning, never mind get to work on time. This is why you'll always see the successful people around your office or place of business, right? They're not just ripping in there 2 minutes after 9 if everybody starts at 9. They're there early. They're prepared. Back to my dad. This is what he would do. Right? He would get up, get himself together. He would get out to where he worked early. And by leaving early at, 5:45 or whatever time he left the house, he would beat the traffic. Now, instead of spending an hour and a half in traffic, he would spend 45 minutes by leaving early. This afforded him the opportunity to go to a gym that was located right next to his office out nearby where he worked. So instead of wasting his time, he was really killing two birds with one stone, right? He was getting up a little early, and by doing so, instead of being caught in traffic for, twice as long as he needed to be, he was in traffic for half the time, and the other half of the time he utilized as an opportunity to go and get some exercise, go to the gym. Now, by going to the gym, there was a butterfly effect. He found that this provided him with more energy to be at his best for longer portions of the day. When he was at his best for longer portions of the day, what do you think happened? He outperformed the other people trying to do what he did every day. Well, this again had a butterfly effect, right? He's getting there early. He's always prepared. He's firing on all cylinders because he's filled with energy from the habits that he's created and he's abiding by, right? Watching him do this for so many years and then experiencing, as his child, I was a benefactor of his success, right? We did have a roof to live under. The fridge was always filled. I never went without clothes, etc. I was able to see exactly what type of habits led him into the positions he held. He owned and operated a division of a company that he actually created in the second half of his career. And, that led to a lot of these amazing moments I talk about where, due to his success, he had certain positions in his company. And those positions came with the responsibility of maintaining relationships. The maintenance of those relationships led to him taking golf clubs out the door when everybody else would be going to work. Now, he was going to work, but man, I really like the idea of what he was doing for work versus a lot of the other people I saw on planet Earth. He would always explain to me, everything is habitual, right? If you want to become a certain type of individual, it's as simple as just adapting the habits that those individuals adapt, right? Birds of a feather flock together. It was funny because as he would explain all this to me, the relationships that he ended up creating at the gym were with a lot of individuals who were just like him. Because the only individuals at the gym at that time were individuals who thought the way he thought. Birds of a feather flock together. I say it again. So when I'm saying to you, you can't become the person until you become the person, I want you to start to identify areas in your life where you can do a better job of becoming the person you're looking to become. For example, as a sales representative, when I was in the dealerships early on in my career, yes, I would be wearing a shirt and tie. But sometimes the shirt, maybe it wasn't pressed the way it needed to be pressed. Maybe there was a wrinkle in it, right? Sometimes my tie wasn't done all the way up, nice and tight. That's the way my dad's was when he left the office. Maybe I didn't have the top button done up while I was wearing a tie. Again, I understand, a lot of times we dress business casual, much like I am now. But there are instances where ties are appropriate, and I love them, all right? Again, just on a quick note there, think about this. Anytime you're looking to sort of command the attention and respect of a room, I don't care who you are. You walk into a room where a bunch of guys are looking like I am right now, and then there's another individual sharply dressed with the tie on. I'm sorry, but that individual is standing out. Perception is reality, and this is at least how I see it, and I'm sure many of you do as well. Back to habits again. You can't become the guy until you become the guy. So in many instances, I started to realize in my career in the dealerships that I could control some of these factors with the way I dressed, right? I started to realize that when I was experiencing success on the sales floor and I was having the appropriate paychecks that come along with that success, there was an opportunity. Well, what I realized is many of the people who weren't as successful as the others I had seen in my life, well, they would get paid and then they would spend their money like a drunken sailor, right? It was all about buying drinks at the bar, going out, for dinner and doing all these things. But what I started to realize is the people I was looking to become much like, they did it a little differently. They did celebrate their successes, but they also identified, hey, you want to look like $1 million all the time because perception is reality. And I've said it in the past. If there's 3 things guaranteed in life, it's death, taxes, and human beings will forever pass judgment on other human beings. So what they did and what I started to do is I made it a point that every time we got paid, I would add a new article of clothing to my wardrobe. Instead of having that one suit and maybe a couple of shirts that I was able to mix and match it with, I started buying more suits. I started buying more ties. I started buying more shirts. I started buying more than the one black pair of shoes that I had. Mind you, some of you may be in a position where all you have is that one pair of black shoes. That's cool. I was that person too at one point. However, you want to know what I did with that one pair of black shoes? I had them shining. All right. They were crystal clear, shining. You could see that bald guy flexing. Mr. Clean, heard of him? Google it. Well, you could see him in my shoes. You see, my point is even though I may not have had all the different types of shoes and all the nice clothes and the complete wardrobe, I did realize that those successful people that I was looking to become much like, their shoes were always shining. I noticed that when they were wearing appropriate clothing, for example, suits or looking, business casual as I am today, they were clean shaven. Even if they did have beards, the beards were cleaned up. Right? These are little details. Again, I can't stress it enough. You cannot become the person until you become the person. You see, if life is an evolution, you need to understand you're not going to wake up one day, stretch, yawn, step out of bed, look in the mirror, and boom, you're going to be in a tuxedo and you call yourself James Bond. That is not how this works. What you do is you have a focus on who it is you're looking to become, and then you can start to adapt all of those successful habits that those individuals have adapted. When you do this on a consistent basis, one day you're going to look around and realize you have that wardrobe, your clothes are always pressed, your shoes are always shining, right? You're always looking that part, and then you're going to also realize your bank account, your paycheck, and everything else in your life looks that part. Again, you don't just snap your fingers and it happens one day. So I want you to think to yourself, what are some areas where you can improve on becoming who it is you're looking to become? Again, with the example of your wardrobe, if perception is reality and you're looking to become like all of those successful people that you follow and that you take on as mentors and look at as examples of who you would like to be one day, are you dressing like them? Are your clothes pressed? Are you put together like they are? Let's move on from clothing because this goes across all spectrums. How about their day-to-day habits, right? Are you early? Are you arriving on time? And by being on time, I'm talking being 15, if not 30 minutes early, right? You know what I realized very young and early is that successful people, they understood that nobody wants to be rushing and filled with anxiousness to operate at their best. No, people operate at their best when they're calm, cool, collected. They operate at their best not when they're scrambling the morning of in the dealership. Okay, how am I going to sell a car today? No. Successful people I knew were making those plans the night before. They were operating under effective principles and laws like plan your work and then work your plan. You see, the successful people I saw in the dealerships, they already knew what they were doing starting at 8 a.m. that morning of. They didn't wake up the morning of and then all of a sudden decide to themselves, hey, I'm at the dealership now. It's 9 o'clock. Let's go have a cigarette. Let's go get a coffee. And then around 11, we'll figure out how we're going to be successful today. No, it wasn't like that at all. You see, by 11 o'clock, they had already conducted 2 to 4 of their planned activities, following up with yesterday's business, checking on the lot to make sure all of the vehicles they had appointments for were gassed up, clean, ready to be presented to clients who were going to take ownership of them, etc. So what are the areas in your life where you can look and examine that perhaps you're not operating like the individual you're looking to become? Because that's what this is all about here. You cannot become the person until you become the person, right? For example, the entrepreneur that you're looking to become just like, the one who closes and captures business on demand, the one who walks with a level of confidence and certainty because they know exactly what they're doing. Well, how did they arrive there? I've said it many times in the past, repetition is a strength builder. So are you putting yourself in a position in your business, in your sales career, where you're getting enough repetition in so that your actions can become strong, that whatever it is you're looking to do, you can continue to get better at? When I was on the dealership floor, I understood this clearly. The successful people were creating enough opportunities to afford failure. Yes, that's right. It wasn't that they were so perfect that if they talked to 10 people, they sold 9 cars. No, it was they understood that if they produced 100 opportunities, they would have a 20-car month. And it was simply mathematics. So they took the actions every day that were necessary to produce that level of activity. Is that what you're doing? Right? Do you have somebody operating in your career, in your business, in a similar business that's got a greater result, that's doing more than you are? Well, examine what is it that's different about them versus you. Are you shutting it down at the end of the day at 3 o'clock, at 5 o'clock? Are you going home to watch Netflix for 4 hours a night? I'll tell you right now, I don't. I don't even know what's on Netflix, to be honest with you. TV is not something I've got time for. There's only so many hours a day, and all of us have 24 of them. How are you spending yours? These are the things you want to examine, because if you want to become like the entrepreneurs inside of the Entrepreneurial Collective, if you want to join a community of like-minded individuals like myself, well, then the way you're going to get there, the beginning of it anyways, is you're going to start to adapt a lot of the ways we think, act, and feel. Now, we talked about the way you present yourself from a clothing perspective. How about, again, we talked about punctuality, right? I see a lot of people, they're getting up early, they're going to bed early. There's no value at 11 to 1 in the morning, 10 to midnight, right? A lot of unsuccessful people in the past have told me, well, that's my time to unwind. I've even heard people who have children, when the kids go to bed, like, I need some time for me. Do you realize you could go to bed at the same time as your kids? How about that one? And then instead of waking up at 7:45 and rushing all frantically to get you and them ready, you could get up at 5 in the morning. Let me tell you something, folks. The hours between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m., they are the sweetest of the day. You know why? You can almost feel the energy of you getting ahead because the rest of the world is sleeping, man. They're not doing what you're doing. And if you want extraordinary results, guess what? You need to take extraordinary actions, because I'll state it again. If you do what everybody else is doing, you're going to get what everybody else has. And I would argue you're watching this right now because you already have what everybody else has, and it's not sufficient. It's time to change. You cannot become the person until you become the person. I cannot stress this enough. What about the company you keep? Let's examine that for a minute. Do you want to know what I see? A lot of successful entrepreneurs who have these wonderful purposes and ambitions and dreams that they're going to serve the world through their businesses. They're not out in the club till all hours of the night. This isn't to say there isn't a time and a place for you to, enjoy your successes or enjoy having a break, right? But I'm talking about consistent behavior here. A broken clock's right twice a day and a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. So don't think about the one guy or girl who's out partying until all hours of the night and drives a Lambo. Show me 10 out of 10 of them and then I'm listening. Right? The point is if you're looking to create what you haven't created yet, you need to start doing what you haven't been doing. It's really that simple. So how are you spending your evenings? What's your current way of operating each and every day? Again, we're talking about discipline actions here. There's a lot more that's going to benefit you by going to bed early, waking up in the morning and exercising, getting extra energy for all of the actions you need to take on a day versus staying out till all hours at night, drinking, drugs, alcohol, sleeping in, running late, arriving to work, not prepared, right? We understand, again, what luck is, don't we, folks? Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. How prepared are you every morning? That's right. I'm calling you out right now. I want to take everybody to task. You see, the problem I have is when people want to squawk, bitch, and chew about what they don't have, and yet they're spending money on their credit cards that they're going to carry balances on so they can go party in the club, give your head a shake and quit pretending or being mad that you're not doing what me and everybody inside the Entrepreneurial Collective's inner circle is doing. You see, we understand there are times and moments to do things. Look, I'm a golf nut. I love golfing like crazy, and you don't want to know how much of it I do. I get it in. Trust me. But there was a season getting to the point that I'm able to play 100 rounds a year now where I didn't play more than 5, right? There was a season in building this whole business up where what do you mean Netflix? What are you talking about? I didn't even have TV. Well, I wasn't wasting money, nor did I have it to waste on things like that. I needed to spend it on different, technologies that I was utilizing to grow and develop what is AlanDickie.com. So again, folks, I want to remind you, you cannot become the person until you become the person. There's a lot of you right now that love everything I say. You see things that I'm saying, other people online, hey, you don't work for anybody, work for yourself, and whatever the noise is. I see so many of you saying, yeah, what he said, what she said, right? but you're not doing anything those individuals talking or preaching or doing. And I want to bring this to your attention right now. I'll give you an example in real time. I have a young man, and you know exactly who you are watching this. I had a young man who wanted to get into the automotive industry. This is very recently. Well, at an interview, I basically told him, you're not ready. You're a minute late and a buck short to everything in your life. You could barely arrive on time to this interview right now. There was a few other flaws in dealing with this individual. And listen, I call a spade a spade. One thing you're not going to get with Alan Dickie is any type of sugarcoating. It's funny because all the time, people, even some of you watching this, are always like, we love how you keep it real. Everybody loves how real I keep it until I keep it real with them. How about that? But I'm going to keep it real with anybody. And if you don't like it being kept real, then you need to get away from my presence, because that's the only thing I know. Back to this young man. Well, I said to this individual, you're a minute late and a buck short to everything in life. This is why you're not experiencing the result you want. And I frankly don't have time to waste with people like this. Well, this is where he started to explain to me, no, I'm not that guy. And, it was a mistake and this is a one-off and blah, 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 blah. So I said, okay, remember, 3 things guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and human beings will forever pass judgment on other human beings. But you want to know something? I'm aware that this is happening, and I'm not going to get into the business of passing judgment on people. So I said to them, okay, then you prove me different. I said, this is what I want you to do. And I gave him a series of tasks. And I said, I want you to perform all of these tasks, and I'll be keeping an eye on you. And it doesn't matter what the tasks are right now. What matters is I gave him a specific set of tasks, and I told him I'd be keeping an eye on them. And there was a way I was able to keep an eye on them. So that's what it was. Well, I let 3.5 weeks go by. And trust me, there was expectations after each day, never mind each week, never mind 3.5 weeks. Well, literally a day after 3.5 weeks of watching this, I sent the individual a text. It was a very strong text too. I said, you're a joke. You're a pretender, and you're in no danger of creating any type of success in your life. So go and get into a company that rewards time served, like our freaking prison system, right? And hopefully you'll get a gold-plated watch after 30 years of that trash being broke and pissed off for the rest of your life. I'm like, you're not one of us. Hit the bricks. Some of you might be like, well, that was a little mean. No, that's the truth. This is me keeping it real. Now, this individual, and you know who you are, wrote this big, long message. I know I haven't. It's over. Dead to me. It's over. And this is much like life. There's so many people who have opportunities show up right in front of their face, and many of you have as well, right? But they fail to capture it because they're not operating like somebody who's serious about capturing it. I conduct interviews, for example, right? To join automotive dealerships, the amazing dealers that I serve. That's right. Young men and women can capture opportunities to get paid to develop their ability to effectively influence other human beings, selling automobiles under my tutelage. Why? Not because I necessarily think they were born to sell cars the rest of their lives, because I understand the skill set to learn and develop how to effectively influence other human beings, sell, will be mandatory. It will be demanded of you if you're ever going to bring about your dream, your purpose, and your entrepreneurial goals, right? You're going to need to know how to sell stuff. You're going to need to know how to effectively influence people into giving you and your solutions to the world's problem a chance and an opportunity. Well, when I have people come out to these opportunities, I express to them, there is a certain way that you need to roll. Now, very, very few show up to the initial opportunity and presenting themselves or conducting themselves, carrying themselves at the, level I expect. But I told you, we're not going to pass judgment on them right away. However, I make it abundantly clear. There's 1 or 2 options here. If I do decide to work with you, you can come along. But the way you're going to come along is simple. When I say jump, the only answer out of your mouth is how high. And this is not in the name of some subserviency I expect out of you. No. It's the fact that many young men and women, I would say many humans, I don't care, regardless of your age, all suffer from a disease. You know what the disease is called? The disease is called instant gratification disease, right? And because of that disease, I know that you don't have the faith in your abilities nor the patience to arrive at the destination. It's not going to happen fast enough for you. Well, I express this to them and then I say, would you agree? They all go, yeah, I kind of do. I do agree. And I say, okay, well, when I say jump, you're going to say how high, not in the name of you being subservient to me, but in the name of me knowing exactly how to get you where you want to go and do it at the fastest rate possible. Are you acceptable or do you accept these terms? They say yes. This is why I've changed the lives of many young men and women in the automotive industry, and many of which have gone on to become effective entrepreneurs and are operating inside of our inner circle. Why? Because they're one of us. But I'll tell you as well, there are many that I have popped into a cannon, lit the wick, and launched out of the dealership just as quick as they came in, because I'm not playing games, folks. You got one swing at this thing called life, and if you're going to effectively capture the opportunities that are afforded to you in it, there's no time for second, third, fifth, and eighth chances. And I'll tell you this, I'm not your dad. I'm not your parent, and the world isn't either. So you may have been afforded sixth, seventh, and eighth chances with them. The world's not giving you this. And I'm giving this message to you because I want all of you people, I say young men and women because I know a lot of you are on the cusp of feeling all of these things, you know? I feel like I've got a greater purpose. I've got a gift. I know that if the world had what I have to offer, I would be able to solve so many of the world's problems. And by putting the world first, I understand I can have anything I want to in life as long as I help them get what they want. Well, if the world wants solutions to their problems and you're able to provide them, guess what's on the other side of providing those solutions? Everything you ever wanted. And I'm not just talking about financial success and abundance. I'm talking about a fulfillment that's indescribable that very few and all of us in the Entrepreneurial Collective get to experience. So let me take these examples and dial them all in to give you this message. You cannot become the person you're looking to become until you become the person you're looking to become. You are not going to wake up one day, be in the tuxedo with an Aston Martin in your driveway, saving the world, calling yourself James Bond. Does not work like that. What you need to understand are the laws. We've said it many times before. Disciplined actions taken on a consistent basis can and will guarantee results. Well, you need to identify those habits of successful people. You see them all around you all the time. Again, we go in depth in here because we understand that you don't get to see all of the secrets of those successes. That's why I created this program. Pardon me, but what I'm saying here is at a baseline, at a bare minimum, if the successful people are going to bed early, getting up early, start doing that. If the successful people understand that the hours between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. are magical and you can get so much done, you're at your creative best, the noise of the world has not infected you yet, then start getting up and taking advantage of those hours. If you understand that going to bed late at night, you know, and with drugs and alcohol in your system only leads to, and waking up late only leads to extra sleep and a few extra nightmares, stop doing it. If you notice that the successful people in the organizations you're a part of or you currently serve, if you see that the president of your company is always in great looking outfits, suits, ties done up tight, top button done up tight, clothes pressed, shoes shined, belt matching the shoes, socks matching the pants, pocket square on fleek. Did I just say that? Maybe I did. Then start dressing like that. If you see them arriving early, not just in the nick of time, start doing that. My point is, folks, success leaves clues. And if you want to become the individual that you really are looking to become, then spot those individuals out in the world and out in the marketplace and start to copy them. Eat, sleep, yeah, you know what's next, and breathe just like they do. And what I can guarantee you is that is going to get you 80% of the way there. The final 20, the secret stuff that nobody talks about openly and they don't want to teach, many times because they believe there's not enough abundance to go around on planet Earth. We don't think that way. Get inside here. Get inside the Entrepreneurial Collective's inner circle where we reveal it to all because we understand that there's an abundance of resource, money, and opportunity on planet Earth. And we're looking for the right individuals to serve the world through their businesses and show them the exact secrets on how to get there and how to get there fast. Ladies and gentlemen, This has been another episode of the Entrepreneurial Collective podcast, and man, I've enjoyed my time with you today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the page to get updates on all the amazing content that we've got coming out consistently. It's coming in hot and it's coming fast, and you know where to find me on social media. Remember, if you don't and want to find a way, you will, and if not, you'll find an excuse. I'm going to leave you with that. Until our next episode, make it a great day, everybody, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time on the Entrepreneurial Collective podcast.